Hello everybody, welcome to Korea Complete channel. Today we're going to do a KIIP level 4 grammar review. So you can check out my first video on the series. So I took a series of practice tests and I jotted down what grammar points were commonly seen on the exam. So you can go back to the first video and take a look at that. But this one is going through other grammar points that are also important and maybe confuse you a little bit. So let's take a look. So here we have 렸dan chamida, which means you're about to do something, okay? So this can be a little bit confusing and niche, but it's a very good piece of grammar. Like if you can actually incorporate this into your everyday speech of Korean, people will be really impressed. So basically, it's very hard though. A lot of these grammar points, they're very hard to incorporate into your everyday Korean, but the more familiar you get with them, the more you understand them at a deep level, the more it'll start to come out naturally. So let's try to explain this. So I am about to go to sleep, right? 내가 피곤해서 차렸던 잠이에요. So you remember this I actually looked this up because it's a little bit confusing. I looked it up in two grammar books. In the present tense, you add ye to the end of chamida, and it becomes yeyo, cham이에요. So basically, I bet sometime in Korean, you're talking to somebody or thinking about how to say something in Korean, you're like, oh, I was just about to go to the store, right? Or I was just about to eat, right? 먹으려던 잠이다, 가려던 잠이다. I was just about to eat, I was just about to go to the store. And you're like, how do I say that in Korean? And you come up with some weird way that you just thought of in your mind. That isn't exactly how or what people use. So this is the case, right? So I was tired, so I was about to go to sleep, right? So that is the present tense. And this is past tense, right? So if you're talking about something you were about to do in the past, so like, oh, why didn't you come to my house yesterday? Or, I was about to come to your house, um, but blah, 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 right? So I was about to, and you can also add other grammar points to it, right? To make it into a different clause. So in this case, you can say, I was about to go to the restaurant. So 제가 식당 가려던 참이다. 참이었어요. So when it comes to something in the past that you were about to do, it is 참이었어요. So that's the difference, right? So if your friend says, "Why did you not come?" You say, "I was about to go to the restaurant." 하지만 식당 제가 식당 가려던 참이었어요. 하지만 or 그러나 something like that, right? However or blah, and then the next reason can come after that. So that's 참이다. And this one is 얼마나 는지 모르다. And this expresses emphasis, right? So you want to emphasize a verb. You put it in between 얼마나, verb, 는지 모르다, or adjective. Verb or adjective. In Korean, verbs and adjectives function similarly, but the grammar points change a little bit if it's a verb or an adjective. And if you're not sure, because sometimes it is confusing. Like I was surprised, you'd think surprised would be an adjective, right? It's it's describing a state of emotion or something. But no, actually, 놀랐다 is actually a verb. So you're actually being surprised. So you can check on Naver Dictionary. I'll post a link in the bottom for Naver Dictionary, so you can check. It'll say 동사 or 형용사. So for this, it's almost like you don't know how much blah blah blah, right? Tired, 피곤, 얼마나 피곤하는지 모르다. You don't know how tired I was, right? So you're emphasizing a point. So here we have 너는 얼마나 피곤하는지 몰라요. You don't know how tired I am, right? So you're emphasizing the point that you're so tired. And this is very colloquial, right? So this is like when you want to go out with your Korean friends and, you don't want to speak all grammarly. You want to just, speak naturally. And, this is a very good casual grammar point you can use in every day. 얼마나 나나 눈치 몰라. It sounds very natural, and I'm sure you can impress some people if you use this properly in the right context. And next one, another one, you could say like 요즘 얼마나 바쁜지 몰라. Right? So I'm so busy these days. So however you want to imagine in your mind, either you don't know how blah 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 something is, or I'm so busy, right? So you can, you don't want to memorize it as one specific line in Korean or English. You don't want to think about a translation. You want to just think of the meaning, right? What are you trying to convey with this point, right? You don't want to memorize so it's like it's so, or I don't know how tired I am. That's for reference, right? You want to just imagine this as you're emphasizing a point, right? And roughly translates into, so busy these days, or you don't know how tired I am. But the main thing you want to remember is you're emphasizing a point. And this can be really good in everyday speaking of Korean. And our last one is 얼마나 놀랐는지 모르겠습니다. So, in this case, as far as I understand, 모르다 at the end is always in the present tense. And the point you're emphasizing can be past or present. So in this case, 놀랐다 is to be surprised. I was surprised, or surprised. And you can see that in this case, the verb or adjective you're emphasizing is conjugated into present or past. And that's how you show a past tense. So I was tremendously surprised, right? You don't know how tremendously surprised I was before, right? How amazingly surprised I was. So, and another thing you need to know is for verbs, it's 하는지. This is for verbs. You just add 는지 to the base, right? You don't conjugate the base of the verb and you just throw on 는지. And for this case, it's a busy is actually a adjective. You're describing a state or a feeling. So it's actually a description. Although I said sometimes it gets a little tricky, but generally 바쁘다 is a adjective and it ends in a vowel. So you just add the nian to the bottom. And that's the same for any adjective that has a vowel at the end. You add the n to the bottom. So it's not 바쁘는지. No. It's 바쁜지. And then for past tense, since there is the 상시ot at the bottom of all past tense, you add 는지. So 줄 알다, 모르다. This is a direct knowledge or ability, okay? Very similar to 수 있다 or 수 없다, but different in a lot of ways, and I'll explain that in a second. So you want to talk about I can make strawberry jam, right? You could say in this case it's in the negative, right? So 줄 몰라요. Not and 줄 알아요 is positive. 줄 모르다 is negative. You can't do or you don't know. And 줄 알다 is you know or you can do something. So 나는 잼을 만들 줄 몰라요. I don't know how to make strawberry jam, right? So in this way, you're showing the ability or knowledge. And the positive form of that would be 나는 딸기잼을 만들 줄 알아요, right? So you know how to do something, right? And so that's one example, and another one. So that's this is a the first point is general, very general, just expressing knowledge or something. I can do this, I can swim, I can play sports, I know how to speak Korean or something like that, right? But this one is the second case here is a little more niche, but something you need to know because in case you see it, you might confuse you a little bit. Actually, this confused me for a while, but I had to double check it and make a video about it, and it helps me understand how to do everything too, even better. So number 2 is 영화가 그렇게 슬플 줄 몰랐어요. So you can see it's in the past tense. 몰랐어, 몰랐어 is the I didn't know how sad this movie would be. And in this case, you're more like commentating on something. Like I didn't know how angry he'd be or something like that. And this is a little more colloquial. So don't worry too much about number 2. It's generally used. The first case is generally used quite often. I heard some of my students saying it the other day. But you can also use it in the second case. It can be used to show that you didn't know some information about something, about a specific thing, right? So 영화가 그렇게 슬플 줄 몰랐어. I didn't know it would be so sad like this, right? So if you see it in this case, understand, right? We're talking about specific information about something. That's not like general knowledge or ability, right? The second case is not a general knowledge or ability. It's more of a commentating on a specific situation, typically with emotions. And number 2, and the last thing is, so you're probably thinking, isn't this just 수있다, 수없다? It even has a positive and negative form. It shows ability or knowledge. 갈 수 있다, I can go. I can make. 만들 수 있다, I can make. 만들 수 없다, I can't make. And yes, in those cases, it is essentially the same thing. But once again, I had to look this up in the grammar books. It shows possibility, right? And possibility is in Korean 가능성. 가능성. All right? And 가능성 shows the possibility. So if you say like 갈 수 없다, right? 가다, to go, plus 수 없다, you're showing that I can't go. So if your friend says, hey, you want to go to the movies? And you say, 갈 수 없다, 갈 수 없어요, 갈 수 없습니다, you're showing that there is a possibility, right? It's not, in this case, it's not direct knowledge. It's not an ability. Of course, you can go, right? You can physically walk. You can physically go to the movies. But in this case, you can't go for some reason, right? You're busy or you have to go for dinner with your wife's family or whatever. And this way you're showing that there's no possibility of this. And same with anything else, right? You're showing that in this specific scenario, you can't do something because of another reason. You can do it in general, but in this case, there's no possibility to do that for other reasons. But and that's to compare against 줄 알다 and 줄 모르다. It only in the case of number one, which I said you want to focus on this case number one, it's only showing a direct knowledge of something you can or can't do. It doesn't show, possibility of the situation. It's just a general, very general. I know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. While suita suapta shows a specific scenario for that case, if you can or can't do it because of other reasons, right? So it's more general, and this is more about specific knowledge. And finally, in this video, there is dorok, and it shows an intention, goal, or an objective. So you use this with two clauses, right? In the first clause or sentence, right? Just to put it very simply, sentence is a clause, has like a subject, object, verb, right? And you combine it with another one, with and or whatever, something like that. So dorok combines two clauses, and it shows there's a goal or intention or purpose to the first sentence, right? So if you take a look here, 저는 잘 이해할 수 있도록 다시 한번 설명해 줄게요. So I will explain it again so you understand it better, right? So often you see dorok, with su ita, right? So it's showing a possibility or something you can do for a objective or goal or intention, but not always, right? But you will commonly see it with su itdorok, su updorok, antdorok, but it can be for anything. But very commonly it's used with suita to show something you can do for a goal or objective, something like that. So basically the person's saying that I will explain this again so you understand. It's almost like a so. Imagine every time you wrote so, you just put like I don't know, an I underneath it like this. I don't know, a box. How about this? Every time you wrote so, you put a square underneath, and it means that so is showing that, there's a reason or a goal or objective with that so. It's not just, two clauses, right? And again, we have another very commonly dorok is used with ji anta as well, right? In the negative form. So it's, saying that you won't do something, or, you're not going to do something for a specific reason. And to catch a cold is 감기 걸리다, right? Is to get sick, basically catch a cold. And when you add ji 않도록, it means to not catch a cold, right? We will wash our hands, right? So the first clause is pointing out there's a reason, and the second one is what that reason is, right? So we will not to not catch a cold, we will wash our hands, right? So that's the relationship between the clause, right? The one clause shows a reason, and the second one shows what you'll do, right? And finally here we have, very simply, again, to not waste time, I will study. 나는 시간을 낭비하지 않도록 공부해야지. So a few things here. As you guys can see, I put these subjects here because personally it's very confusing when there's no subject, because you're like, what the heck? Because the subject's what the whole sentence is about, right? So you're like, what the heck? How am I, like, what is this, like, what's the context here, right? And at first it is really confusing, but and ambiguous for people that really like to have like everything specifically laid out for them. I'm definitely that kind of person. Like, I really like to have everything laid out, unambiguous. so I can understand things. But unfortunately, in real everyday life, even in English or probably other languages too, you don't necessarily state the subject of a sentence, right? You don't say like you are, blah blah blah, or I am. You just say like, oh, I'm hungry, or I guess in English you do most of the time say I'm or you. It's more important, but sometimes like you can drop it, right? Sometimes in English it's dropped, the subject's dropped if you know what you're talking about. So I remember I got a few comments telling me, talking about this, and I totally relate, it's pretty hilarious. So I wrote the subjects in here, and so it could be I or you or we or he or she. It actually doesn't really matter that much. So I will study. Heyaji means, something you're telling yourself to do. Um, yaji with a verb. Kayaji, heyaji, wayaji. It's, something you're kind of promising yourself. So to not waste time, I will study.